Jai Hind to all. I am Updesh Kumar Jaiswal, working as an assistant professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. Today I am going to discuss about the topic design process of the user interface. The today outline of my lecture will contain meaning of user interface design, people and their tasks, response to poor design by users, principle of good user interface design, know your user or client, methods for gaining an understanding of users, human consideration in interface design, and the references. So, firstly, I'm going to discuss about the meaning of the user interface design. What is the meaning of user interface design? It is basically the design of the interface or system which is directly accessible by the user and they interact with it in order to do a task. The main aim of user interface design is to enhance the appearance of the software product. By using the good interface design, we are providing the good appearance of the software projects. The quality of technology used and the usability of the software projects also mentioned by the good user interface design. Designing of the user interface refers to the requirement of software or hardware of the system which the user can see and the various commands to control or use the software product. Attributes like theme, animations, colors, etc. are required for design process of the user interface. A user interface design should provide business objectives in the faster and efficient way. So a user interface must be easy to learn. For people want to do work with the system, but they no need to learn how to do. A user interface design focuses on the looks of the application or software. Finally, the computer system must be easy to use and includes a sense of fun or sense of pleasure to the clients, user or customer or people. Clients, user, customer, people are interrelated terms and they are the person who are using your application, your software. So before designing a good user interface, the developer, the designer should know what are the people who will use their system and what are the tasks performed by them. The user in today's office is usually overworked, tired, and continuously interrupted. The home user may also experience above same condition and also have the pressure associated with children and family life as well. The user or people wants to spend time with a computer system happily, but he or has no learning of how to use it. They don't know how to use the system, but they are feeling happiness when they are using the system. The user's objective is simply to get some work done or some task performed or some need satisfied very easily by the computer system, but they are not interested to learn how to use the system. So it is basically the major task of the designer. Designer of the user interface must be capable of resolving some system problems and doubts using his or her experience and technical knowledge. Responses to poor design by the user. If we are creating a bad design of a user interface, then what are the responses given by the user? What are the responses given by the customer who are using that system? Unfortunately, people remember the one thing that went wrong, but not the many that go right. So the problems are related as an abnormal level of importance. This is showing the abnormal level of importance. System errors are a symptom of problems. If there are some errors in the system, then it is a symptom of problem. The magnitude of errors in a computer-based system has been found to very high in the case of command, task, and transactions. The percentage of error is 46%. So we should always minimize the errors. Errors, problems, and troubles in the user interface design can confuse the user. If there are more and more errors in the user interface design, then it will create the confusion in the mind of the user. Due to poor design, a variety of psychological responses and physical reactions are given by the customer, given by the user or people who are using that system. So, what are the responses to poor design? There are two categories: psychological responses and physical reactions. The main psychological responses to poor design are confusion or doubt. Due to inconsistency in design of user interfaces, many confusions may be created in the mind of the users. If there will be large number of inconsistency and consistency will be less, then lots of the doubts will be developed in the mind of the customer. If the same data or menu or button or information will be shown, but they are defined differently on the different screen. Suppose on one screen I am writing one definition and another screen I am writing the same definition at the same time. So the confusion or trouble will be created in the mind of the people. Second psychological response is anger or irritation. Barriers that prevent a task being completed. There are some problems who are behave as a barrier and they are creating the problem in the completion of the task. Difficulties in quickly finding accurate information and slow computer response times may cause irritation to the customer, irritation to the people. Outdated information and visual screen may also irritate and harass the people if designing of the visual screen will be not good and information will be outdated, absolute, then it will create irritation and harassment in the mind of the user customer. Frustration or NXT. Inability to easily convey user message to the computer. If you are providing the message to the computer in a very difficult manner, then it will create the frustration in the mind of the user. And inability to finish an operation on time by the computer system can give fear to the people because system is taking a long time and time is limited. Slow response time and inflexible computer systems are a major source of frustration. Another psychological response due to poor design will be panic or stress. Long delays during times of danger or unusual high pressure may include terror or stress in the mind of user. Some typical reasons for the stress are unavailability of proper system or long response time when the user is operating under a deadline. Sadness or boredom. Sadness results from the improper computer functioning like slow response time, long download time, long access time, etc. or a complex user interface of a software application being used. It will create the sadness in the mind of the user. Less user friendly and less attractive GUI of the system is a major source of sadness in the mind of the customer, in the mind of the user. Now, next category of responses due to poor design and due to these responses, the different physical reaction which are given by the customer is surrender of the system. Sometimes system is rejected or hang or responded very late, and due to this information will be provided very late. So the higher level managers will not correct the system, and they surrender the system, and they feel uncomfortable while using the system, and they will be disagree to use the system. Partial use of the system: only a portion of the computer system functionality are used. Usually those operations that are easiest to perform or that provide the most benefit or that have higher priority. The task which have the higher priority will be performed first, and another task are delayed. Many features of the computer system generally not used by the people. Historically, this has been the most common user reaction to most computer system, that is the partial use of the system. Only the some part of the system are used which are having the higher priority. So less priority elements are not executed, not used by the user. Another physical reaction is indirect use of the system. And mediator is a place between the user and the computer. Suppose there is a mediator which is placed between the user and the computer, and you are believing and you are trusting on that mediator. So it can create the problem. Since this requires high status and attention, it is another typical response of manager or other with authority. The higher authority people will assign their duties to the mediator, and the higher authority will require the high status and attention on that mediator. If they will not put the high attention on the mediator, then errors will be occur. So it is called as the indirect use of the system, and this is done by the managerial people. It is due to poor design. Managerial people deny to work with the system. Modification of the task. The task is changed to match the capability of the system. This is a popular reaction when the tools are inflexible and the problem is unstructured, as in scientific research problem solving. So task will be modified. It is due to poor design of the system. We have to perform some important task, and we will perform another task in place of that important task, and it is only due to response of the poor design. Another physical reaction that can be given by the customer: compensatory activity. Additional actions are performed to compensate the system inefficiency. If system will be inefficient, then additional tasks will be performed. A common example is the manual reformatting of information to match the structure required by the computer. So here manual reformatting is done to match the data with the computer system. This is a reaction common to works whose wisdom is limited, such as clerical people. Misuse of the system is another physical reaction given by the customer. In the case of operational difficulty, many shortcuts are used. So this is the misuse of the system. But this requires significant knowledge of the computer system and may affect the integrity of the system, because we are using the shortcut methods, not the actual methods. Direct programming. The system is reprogrammed by its user to meet specific needs. If some specific needs is required, then system will be customized by the user itself. But it can be done by only the experienced worker or client, not with the clerical person. So a clerical person cannot perform direct programming. Only the experienced and knowledgeable user can do it. Now, principles of good user interface design. There are 7 good principles which are used in designing of the user interface, and by using these 7 principles, the design of the interface will be very nice. Let us discuss about the principle of user interface design, which are as follows. Minimizing actions. This is the first principle. According to this principle, we should minimize action, that is the steps per screen. The tasks and actions are streamlined so that they can be done in a few steps as possible. The interface should be designed keeping in mind to maintain the step as few as possible for performing any task. So to perform any task, minimum number of actions should be, a minimum number of activities should be performed. So if there will be minimum number of action, then time will be reduced to perform a task, and it will be provided only by the good user interface design. Providing useful feedback. The user should be provided with feedback. The user which is using the system, the client which is using the system, if he is providing the feedback, then it will be very beneficial for the interface design developer. Interface designer, interface developer. This keeps the user informed and helps them to know that some action was successful or not. Consistency is very important. So design should be consistent. Increasing consistency increase the familiarity and hence increase the usability of the system. So the user interface should be consistent. Clarity. Content should provide the user with clarity. It also provides visual appeal. There should not be anything which confuse the user. All things should be clear and well defined, and it becomes an obstacle for the user in interacting with the product. Simplicity. The user interface should not be complex, it should be simple. It should always be designed simple and nice looking, and having the nice looking. Flexibility. The user interface should be flexible so that it can be usually modified or changed or updated according to user feedback, according to user needs. The user can control the interaction if flexibility will be high. If we can easily modify the system, then due to high flexibility, user feel happiness while using the system, and it can only provided by the good user interface designer. User satisfaction. Tolerate and forgive common and unavoidable human errors. When an error does occur, provide constructive message. Prevent errors from the occurring whenever possible. Due to these reasons, users will be satisfied very much. Principle of good user interface design. I already explained, and here I am showing that thing by using a diagram. User interface design principle: useful feedback, consistency, clarity, simplicity, flexibility, user satisfaction, and minimizing action. There are 7 principles. I already discussed about this. Know your user or client. It is very necessary for the user interface designer to understand who are the users, who will be the user, who will be the client of the system. Because on the basis of observation of the user who will use the system, then user interface developer, user interface designer will develop a good design according to the customer requirement, according to customer need. To improve the quality of the design process of the user interface designer should understand how people interact with computers. User interface designer should understand the human characteristics important in design. Identify the user's level of knowledge and experience. Identify the characteristics of the user needs, tasks and jobs. Identify the user psychological characteristics. Identify the user's physical characteristics. Make use of a recommended method for gaining understanding of the users. Methods for gaining an understanding of the users or clients, to know about their customer, to know about the user, to know about the clients. Following kinds of method or techniques are used to understand about the users of the system. Visit user location for field study, particularly if they are unfamiliar to you, to gain an understanding of the user's work environment and work culture. To know about the work environment and work culture. Talk with users about their problems, difficulties, wishes, what they want, and what works well now. Create direct contact. Avoid believing on the intermediates. Observe users working or performing a task to see what they do, their difficulties, and their problems. Videotape users working or performing a task to show and study problem and difficulties. Learn about the work organization where the system may be installed. Create testable behavioral target goals to give management a measure for what progress has been made and what is still required in the system. Desk research is valuable for gathering information, insight to the understand user and their needs based on existing data from various internal and external sources. This data can come from published materials, academic papers, industry reports, social media, online resources, and other third-party data sources. Interviews and group discussion are widely used user research method for gaining an understanding of the user. Survey and questionnaires are popular user research method that systematically collect data from many participants. Survey typically consists of questions designed to gather quantity or quality data about user preferences, opinions, behaviors, and needs. Usability testing. This point is very important. Usability testing. It evaluates a new product on behalf of user experience while working with it. Usability testing involves observing user performing specific tasks and providing feedback on their interaction. Usability testing helps to understand user behavior, user friendliness, and ease of use with a new developed system. Human consideration in interface design. In design of a user interface of a system, following human or customer or client or people consideration are taken into the account. Or we can say important human characteristics which have influence on the interface design are: the first human consideration is the user's knowledge. How much knowledge user have and how much experience he or her has. The user tasks. What are the tasks performed by the user and what are their needs? The user psychological characteristics. It is very important point. The user physical characteristics. I will discuss one by one in the next slide. The user's knowledge and experience. Computer literacy, system experience, application experience, task experience, other system use, education, reading level, typing skill, native language, or culture. Computer literacy, highly technical or experience, moderate computer experience or none. System experience, having the high system experience, moderate means average or low knowledge of the particular system. Application experience, high experience, average experience, low experience of similar system. Task experience, level of knowledge of job and job task, level high or level low. Other system use, frequent or infrequent use of other system in doing job. Education, high school, college or advanced degree. Reading level, less than 5th grade, 5 to 12, more than 12 grade. If user will be more educated, then reading level will be high. Typical is typing skill, 135 words per minute, then it will show that he is the expert user. For the skilled, 90 words per minute. For the good, 55 WPM. For the average, 40 WPM. And the native language or culture, English, Hindi, Sanskrit, or several languages. The user task and needs. It is the second category of the human consideration while designing the user interface. Type of system used, mandatory or not mandatory the system. Frequency of use, continuous, frequent, occasional, once in a lifetime. Task or need importance, high, moderate or low importance of the task. Task structure, repetitive or predictability of tasks being automated, high, moderate or low. Social interactions, verbal communication with another person required or not required. Primary training, extensive or formal training, self-training through manuals or no training. If user will be more experienced, then no training will be required. Turnover rate, high turnover rate, moderate, average or low turnover rate. Job category, executive manager, professional, secretary, clerk, lifestyle. For web e-commerce system include hobbies, recreational pursuits and economic status. These are the different human consideration. Now, the user psychological characteristics. The following kinds of psychological characteristics should be identified. Attitude, motivation, patience, expectation, stress level, cognitive style. In case of attitude, positive attitude, neutral attitude, negative feeling, motivation, low motivation, moderate or high due to interest, it depends upon the interest, or sometimes fear, patience or impatience, expectation, kind and reasonable, stress level, high, no stress, cognitive style, verbal or spatial, analytical or intuitive, concrete or abstract. Now, physical characteristics, that is the age, young, middle age or elderly, gender, male or female, handiness, left, right, disabilities, blind, defective vision, motor handicap, etc. The physical characteristics of the people can also greatly affect their performance with the system. I already told. The following kinds of physical characteristics should be identified. Age, young or middle age or elderly. Age can have an effect on both computer and system usage. Older people may not have the manual efficiency accurately operate with many input-output devices. Brain processing also appear to slow with age. Working memory, attention capacity, and visual search appear to be degraded with the age. If age will be high, then these qualities will be reduced. Gender. Generally, women are not as strong as men, so moving heavy display or control may be more difficult for women as compared to male. Handiness, left or right, a user handiness can affect ease of use of an input-output mechanism depending on machine part, what the machine part he has been created on left or right side. Disabilities, blindness, defective vision, color blindness, poor hearing, locomotor disability can affect performance on a system if not designed with this disability in mind. These are some style of the interaction examples I have given. So these are the different references which I have used while making this lecture. 4 websites, 3 textbooks and 1 journal paper is used. Thank you very much. जय हिंद।